so we have to identify the vertices, foci, and asymptotes of each. So number 5, first thing we need to do is complete the square so we can identify everything we need to. So let's put all of our x's together. We have 9x squared minus 18x. I'm going to leave a space to complete the square. And then negative 4y squared plus 16y. Then I'm going to move the 43 to the other side by adding 43. So it's equal to positive 43. So to complete the squares with my x's, what should I do first? Divide everything by 9. So I'm going to take out a 9. And then I have x squared minus 2x. And then what's going to help me complete the square here?
Over 2.
Negative 2 over 2 squared. So that would be negative 1 squared. So what's going to go in my parentheses down here? X minus 1. With the 9 out front. Don't forget the 9. And then we added 1 in here because negative 1 squared is positive 1. But it's 9 times 1, so it's technically we're adding 9 in here. So if we add 9 on the left side, we have to add 9 on the right side too. Alright, so we finished the x's. Let's do the same thing with the y's. What do I need to do first before I complete the square here? Divide by negative 4. So I'm going to take out that negative 4. And then I have y squared minus 4y. What's going to go in here to help me complete the square? Negative 4 over 2 squared. And negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. So what's going to go in my parentheses?
X minus 2.
Well, y minus 2.
Y minus 2.
Y minus 2 squared. And that negative 4 stays out front. And then I'm technically adding what here? So this is 4, but it's also times that negative 4 out front. So I'm subtracting 16 in here. So I have to subtract 16 on the left side too. Okay, so let's put this all together. We have 9 times x minus 1 squared minus 4 times y minus 2 squared. And that's equal to 43 plus 9 minus 16. 36. What should I do next? Awesome. Divide everything by 36. So I have x minus 1 squared over what?
4.
Over 4. Minus y minus 2 squared over what? 9.
9.
And that's equal to 1. So what's my center of my hyperbola here?
2, 1.
1, 2. Careful because this is the x, so that comes first. 1, 2. And then I'm going to just put it over here on a graph so I can kind of see where my vertices and my foci are going to be. So I'm going to go to the right 1, up 2. If my x comes first, am I going vertically or horizontally to put my vertices? Horizontally. So I'm going horizontally. And what's the distance I'm going to go horizontally? So from the center to my vertices is how long? 2. Perfect. Because this is a squared. So in a hyperbola, the first one is always a squared. It doesn't matter if it's under the x or under the y. The first one's always a squared. So a squared is 4. That means a is 2. So I'm going to the right 2 for a vertice and going to the left 2 for my other vertice. So What are my two vertices?
Negative 1, 2, and 3, 2.
Perfect. Negative 1, 2, and 3, 2. How do I find my foci? What do I need?
You need C, right?
I need C. So I'm going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So my a squared is 4 plus b squared, which is 9, and that's equal to c squared. So c is equal to what?
13.
13. Square root 13. So c is the distance from my center to my foci. So how can I write my foci as a coordinate point? Perfect. So foci is 1 plus or minus square root 13, comma 2. So since I'm going horizontally, my x changes, so I just add and subtract square root 13 from that. So I have a new formula to find my asymptotes. That is y is equal to k plus or minus. If my x comes first, is it a over b or b over a? B over a times x minus h. So my h and k come from my center. So y is equal to 2 plus or minus. My a I said was 2. What's my b? 3. So I have 3 over 2 times x minus h, which is 1. And you may see the answer like this, or it would be simplified a bit. So we can split it up into the plus and then do the minus. So plus 3 over 2x minus 3 over 2, and then combine our like terms. So I could change this 2 to be 4 over 2. So y is equal to 3 over 2x minus 1 over 2. So that's one of my asymptotes. The other one I do the same thing, but it's going to be the negative. So this would be 2 minus 3 over 2x. Negative times a negative is a positive 3 over 2. I need to combine my like terms, so I can make this a 4 over 2. So this would be y is equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 7 over 2. So these are my two asymptotes. So I had to distribute this. So like the first one I distributed was the plus. So that's why it's a minus 3 over 2 here, because positive times the negative is a negative. And then the second one I distributed was the minus, which a negative times a negative was a plus. So that's where that came from. So I always like to find the center, because that way I can just like move and figure out where my vertices are. So what's my center? Negative 4, 0. Perfect. Remember, the x always goes with the x. What is, well, let's find a, b, and c next. So what's my a? Remember, 16 is a squared, so what's a? 4. What's b? 8. And how do I find c? So 16 plus 64 is equal to c squared. This would be 80 is equal to c squared. Take the square root. Can I simplify the square root of 80? Yeah, 16 goes into 80, right? How many times? 5 times. So this would be 4 square root 5. Alright, once I get my A, B, and C, I can figure out my vertices and my foci. So first, let's find the vertices. I'm just going to graph it so I can see it. I go to the left 4 and stay on 0. So that's my center. Am I moving vertically to find my vertices or horizontally? Vertically. Because my y comes first, I'm going up and down. What's the distance between my center and my vertice? 4. So I'm going to go up 4 and down 4. So what are my two vertices? So -4, 4, and -4, -4. And then what are my foci? Perfect. -4. Usually we would say like our y plus or minus, but since it's 0, it's just plus or minus 4 square root 5. Perfect. And then lastly, let's find our asymptotes. So our formula for our asymptotes, I'm running out of space here. So that would be y is equal to k plus or minus. Is this one a over b or b over a? A over b, because the y comes first. So a over b times x minus h. What's my k? 0. Plus or minus. What's my a? 4. What's b? 8. X. And what's my h? -4. So it becomes x plus 4. So this would be y is equal to plus or minus 1/2 x plus 4, which I can simplify it a little bit. Y is equal to plus or minus 1/2 x plus or minus 4 over 2 would be just 2. So if it separated it into two different vertices, you would have, or two different asymptotes, you would have y is equal to the positive ones, 1/2 x plus 2, and then the negatives, y is equal to -1/2 x minus 2. Is that like for, I always like to graph the vertices so I can see like what the 2 points are, because that way you can clearly see, like I can just count and see where those are. I don't have to think about it much. I'm just going up 4 and down 4. The -4 in my x stays the same, so it's going to stay the same for the foci too. So you're just adding the c to the y now. So it's the y that's changing. So for here, the y stayed the same. So you add the foci to the x because it's the x that's changing. So in your center, your vertices, and your foci, either all the x's are going to be the same or all the y's are going to be the same, just depending on is it horizontal or is it vertical. All right. So what's my center? 2, -6, perfect. What's my a? Awesome, because this is a squared, so a would be 1/3. What's my b? 1/2. And then to find my c, I have to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared, so 1/9. Plus 1/4 is equal to c squared. To add these together, I need a common denominator, so I'm going to multiply my top and the bottom here by 4. So I would get 4 over 36. And I'm going to multiply my top and the bottom here by 9, so 9 over 36. So 13 over 36 is equal to c squared. I could take the square root of both sides, so I get square root 13 over 6. With me so far? Alright. So now let's figure out where my vertices are. Yes.
The 13 was on the bottom, we have to rationalize.
Yes. So if the 13 was on the bottom, you would have to rationalize. We don't want square roots in the denominator, but also, remember, it's a multiple choice. So just look at your answer choices. The vertices. So let's graph our center. We go the right 2, down 6. And then, am I moving up or down or left or right for my vertices? Up or down. This tells me the y comes first, so I'm going up and down. How much do I go up and how much do I go down? 1/3. Remember, A is the distance from the center to the vertices. So I'm moving up 1/3 and down 1/3, so it's the y that's changing because I'm going up and down. So I have 2 comma, I'm going to say -6 plus or minus 1/3. Again, it's multiple choice, so just look at your answer choices. If it doesn't look like this, you may actually have to add -6 plus 1/3. Next, let's find our foci. So what's my foci going to be? Perfect. 2, -6 plus or minus square root 13 over 6. So I'm just adding my c to the y. And then let's find my asymptotes. So I have y is equal to k plus or minus, is it a over b or b over a? B, is it? If the y comes first? A over b. You guys can use your notes on the quiz, so just make sure you know when to use which formula. X minus h. So let's plug everything in. We know we have h and k, which are k is -6. A and b, so a is 1/3. B is 1/2. X minus h, so x minus 2. I have this nice fraction and a fraction, so I'm going to keep the top, change to multiplication, and flip the denominator. So I have y is equal to -6 plus 2 over 3 times x minus 2. And then I have the other, y is equal to -6 minus, so I'm splitting up the plus and minus into 2 different equations. 2 over 3 times x minus 2. Then I just distribute, combine my like terms, and I'm done. So -6 plus 2/3 x minus 4/3. I want to combine my -6 and 4/3, so I'm going to make -6, multiplying the top and the bottom by 3, -18 over 3. So that would become y is equal to positive 2 over 3x minus 22 over 3. And then the other one is y is equal to, I still have to distribute, so -6 minus 2/3 x plus 4 over 3. Do the same thing, make this one 18 over 3, so I can combine my like terms. Y is equal to -2/3 x minus 14 over 3. So these are my two asymptotes. So when given one like number 9, we're going to use vertex form to find our A. Leave it in vertex form and then FOIL it out and make it look like standard form. So our vertex is our H and K, and our point is just going to be X and Y. So plugging everything we have into this equation, we have Y, which is 4, is equal to A times X, which is negative 2, minus H, so minus negative 4 squared plus K, so minus 1. So now we want to solve to find A. So 4 is equal to A times, what's negative 2 minus a negative 4? 2 squared minus 1. 4 is equal to 4A minus 1. What should I do next? Add 1, so 5 is equal to 4A. What's next? Divide by 4. So what's A equal to? 5 over 4. Now I'm just going to plug that in with my X and Y in it. So Y is equal to 5 over 4 times X minus H, which is negative 4, so it becomes plus 4 squared minus 1. This is my vertex form. And then what do I have to do to find standard form? FOIL it out. So I'm going to do that up here. 5/4 times X plus 4, I have to FOIL, so X squared plus 8X plus 16 minus 1. What should I do next? Distribute, so 5 over 4X squared plus 8 times 5 over 4 would be 10X. 16 times 5 over 4 would be 20. So 5 over 4X squared plus 10X plus 19. That's our standard form. So just another completing the square one. So let's start with our y's. 9y squared plus 54y. I'll leave a space to complete the square. Then plus negative x squared plus 2x. And I'm going to move that 62 to the other side to get it out of the way. So subtract 62 on both sides. So equal negative 62. So to complete the squares with my y's, what should I do first? Take the 9 out, so I have y squared plus 6y. What number is going to go in here to help me complete the square? 6 over 2 squared. So that would be 3 squared. So what goes into my parentheses here? Y plus 3. So I'm adding 9 in here, but it's actually 9 times 9, so I'm adding 81. So I need to add 81 on the other side too. Now let's do the same thing with my x's. What do I need to do before I complete the square? Take out the negative. So I have negative x squared minus 2x. What's going to go in here? negative 2 over 2 squared. So negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. What goes into my parentheses down here? X minus 1 squared. So I'm adding 1, but I have to make sure I multiply the negative times that 1, so I'm actually subtracting 1 here. So I need to subtract 1 on the left side too. So put it all together, I have 9 times y plus 3 squared minus x minus 1 squared, and that's equal to negative 62 plus 81 minus 1. $18. What do I have to do next? Divide 18 from everything. So I get y plus 3 squared over what? 2. Minus x minus 1 squared over 18, and that's equal to 1. Okay, I'm going to do another one that's not on here. So if it gave you, let's say, the foci, I'm just making this up, but let's say it gave us the foci as plus or minus 2, 0, and it gave us the asymptotes as y is equal to plus or minus 4x. I don't know if this is going to work out, but we're just going to focus on the idea of it. So my foci is plus or minus 2, 0. So I'm going to go to the right 2 and to the left 2 and stay on 0. So what's going to come first here in my equation of a hyperbola? The x's or the y's? The x's come first. So x squared over y squared. Well, x squared, then something's going to be under it, minus y squared, because the x's come first because it is horizontal. So if this was a multiple choice question, you already eliminated 2 of the answer choices because the other 2 had y first. Now we want to figure out what's going to go under here. Well, what's the center of these 2 points? 0, 0. So that's why it's just x squared and y squared. But remember, under here is a squared, and under here is b squared. What is this plus or minus 4? In our equation of an asymptote, what comes before the x? A over b or b over a. How do we know if this is a over b or b over a? Is it horizontal or vertical? Horizontal, so is it a over b or b over a? B over a. So or is equal to b over a. Give you, let's say, this is 4 and this is 1. That's not going to work out. But let's just say this, that it gives you 4 and 1. We know that a is 2, b is 1, so is b over a 4? No. So this would not be an answer choice. So use your answer choices to help you out. Work smart. Alright, so first thing we should do is what? Find the axis of symmetry. What's our axis of symmetry formula? Negative b over 2a. What's our b? So negative 4 over 2 times, what's our a? 2. So this is negative 4 over 4, which is negative 1. axis of symmetry is x is equal to -1. What's the first number in our vertex? -1. How do we find the second number? Plug it in. So we have y is equal to 2 times -1 squared plus 4 times -1 plus 1. So 2 times -1 squared would be just 2. And then 4 times -1 is -4. So 2 minus 4 plus 1 is what? -1. So our vertex is -1, -1. Looking at our equation here, does our parabola open up or open down? It opens up. So do we have a maximum or minimum? We have a minimum. Our vertex is at the lowest point, so it is a minimum. And what is our minimum value? -1. The minimum always comes from the y. What's our domain? All real numbers or -infinity to infinity. Same thing. What's our range? -1 to infinity. Perfect. Our lowest point is at -1, and then we go up to infinity. So you always start with the smallest number in your range and go to the biggest number. And then how do we find the x-intercept? For what? Plug in 0 for y. So to find the x-intercept, you plug in 0 for y. To find the y-intercept, you plug in 0 for x. So 0 is equal to 2x squared plus 4x plus 1. I don't think we can factor it, so let's use our quadratic formula. Negative b, so -4, plus or minus the square root of b squared. So 16 minus 4 times a times c over 2a, so 2 times 2. So this would be -4 plus or minus square root of 16 minus 8, which would just be 8 over 4. Can we simplify the square root of 8? Yep, what does it simplify to? 2 square root 2. And then, do we have any number that goes into 4 and 2? Can we simplify this anymore? What are they all divisible by? 2. So we can divide everything here by 2. So -2 plus or minus the square root of 2 over 2. So this is our x-intercept. So that was when y is equal to 0. So we have -2 plus or minus square root of 2 over 2, comma 0. And what's our y-intercept? 0, comma 1. Perfect. Y-intercept is always going to be your c, or you can just plug in 0 for x, and you'll get 0 plus 1, and that's your y.